Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for January 9th. We're just 2 weeks into the brand new year, and this week we have got some action because we have got Mars coming out of retrograde in the energy of Gemini. And while this is just a semblance of some good news, right? It's just the heralding in of good energy. It is still a start. We will see Mars leave the post-retrograde shadow time as we get to March, but still, this is energy that's going to start to move forward. Plans, re-looking at things you had to go back and you had to relearn something, or maybe you had to review something, review how you were doing something. Now you can start to put those plans into action, and by the time we get out of the post-retrograde shadow time in March, you should feel the release or the solution that a new strategy has brought to your table. So I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful to have that energy working in our favor and working with it this week. Now, again, before we jump into the forecast, make sure that you're clicking the description box down below. Grab your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Skies Collective. They've got this gorgeous calendar. It integrates the transits right into your own calendar so you can see all day long. Okay, hold on. What's going on right now? The moon just went void of course, and it's going to be void of course for an hour, for 2 hours, for 4 hours. And this starts to let you see really how to work with the energy in your day, and that we don't spend all day long just walking or moving forward, or all day long solution or problem solving. There are actually portions of days, hours in days, that can be spent in a void of course moon resting, reviewing, doing. So I really want you guys to see that this year, that there is an opportunity for rest more times during the week than we've been able to give ourselves credit for. So grab your discount code and get your transit calendar down in the description box down below, okay? All right, my beautiful friends, into the week we go. So starting off right here on January 9th, early in the morning, like early in the morning, we are going to see Venus come into a trine with Mars. And as the lovers come into contact with each other, this brings us into Monday's energy, in a place where not only do we feel good, we feel like we're social, and we feel like we kind of crave a little bit more attraction, intimacy, stimulation, social energy is in our favor, but it's also a really empowering energy, because it's like when you say what you need, when you say what you want, as you're moving in that direction, you feel empowered. It's very much so an aspect where you don't feel sheepish, and how you're saying things, how you're asking for things as you're traveling on Monday, they're usually being received very well as well, because before it's like you say something and you kind of don't know how it's going to come off, or somebody can be like, wow, that's kind of aggressive, you know what I mean? And here it feels empowered and assertive as this energy is traveling with you. So, you know, what do you have to say? What are you going to be talking about Monday during the day? Now, when we do get to Monday evening between 6 o'clock and we're moving all the way till 8 a.m. the next day, we do find ourselves in our first period of the void of course moon. So make sure you have the digital transit calendar so you can see when the void of course are happening and when they are ending, okay? When we get into Tuesday, we see the moon now move into the energy of Virgo. So we're going to call to organization, emotionally getting organized, emotionally getting your priorities put in place. You know what I mean? Like, what is it for you that maybe over this last 30 days, emotionally, something fell out of the priority, you know? And what that looks like is it has these other symptoms, you know? If we're not prioritizing the emotional wellness, are you eating? Are you shopping? Are you moon in Virgo, mutable? Are you worrying about things? So this is a great time to kind of prioritize and make sure that your emotional, mental health, wellness is the very best that it can be, because that's what Virgo looks to do. It looks to heal. It looks to heal and bring things together. It's not actually looking to take things apart. It's looking to make sure that things are working as efficiently and as effectively as they need to be the very best that they can. Now, I do want to say, under this particular moon, if there are things going on in your diet or in your nutritional life, how you're eating, or even how you're taking care of your mental health and wellness, which can absolutely be attached to diet, this is a great moon time over this next couple days to really take a look at that, okay? As we get later in the day, we're going to see Mercury in a square to Chiron. And I think that this is always a really interesting aspect as we experience it. Now, we're going to experience it again at the end of this month because we're going to have Mercury coming out of retrograde. So Mercury will come back and have another conversation with Chiron, and then we're not going to see it again until July. But as they are in this particular square, it's like the planet of the mind. What I think, what I've seen, information I've had before, stories I've been telling myself, even stories or ideas that I believed before. They had some kind of authority in my life because Mercury's in the energy of Capricorn, is squaring against Chiron that is in Aries. And Chiron that is in Aries it can be the wound, right? It can be the wound of your identity, what you believe about yourself, the wound of even your physical body. And as it's happening here, you can find yourself in the space of retrograde Mercury. I'm looking over, I'm reviewing, I'm thinking about places that I was harmed, places that I've harmed myself in beliefs or stories that I've had about who I'm supposed to be, how that's good enough, it's not good enough, what does it mean? It could be this place where I can tell you, it is a day to give yourself a lot of grace. And you may feel this energy. It's not really kicking in until around 8 o'clock, but you may feel this energy kicking in, late in the afternoon. And then as we pull into it, you wake up the next day and it's kind of this emotional hangover of the fog, right? Of the I'm not good enough fog. But the way to work with that is to, first of all, give yourself grace. Look back. This is a thing that I find really very helpful, is to look back. Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you a year ago? Not necessarily in terms of your material things. If that is a good measure for you, that's fine. But maybe mentally or emotionally, where were you at then? Looking at where you are today. Where in your life do you have the gifts or the blessings or the experiences that you were praying for years and years ago, right? So give yourself credit where credit is due. Yes, we've got things we can always improve on, but give yourself credit for the things that you are actually showing up and doing very well, okay? When we get to Wednesday, we're going to see Venus come into a square with not only Uranus, but also that transiting North Node. And we're going to feel this conversation happening all the way from now until Friday as Venus has this conversation with Uranus and the nodes. So this can be a real eye-opener, right? Because Venus wants everything to be nice. Let's just keep a nice harmony going over here. And that Uranus North Node energy is like, no, you have to split from. You don't value this anymore. This story, this value, this resource, this relationship is not for you anymore. And so it puts you under pressure, under square, to have to do something about it. The square says, take an action. The only way you're going to get out of this is some kind of action. Now, what's the action, right? Verbs are action words. So what's your action? Do you need to pay that bill? Do you need to shed that relationship? Do you need to have that conversation? Or is your action word, your verb pause, right? Because sometimes, I will tell you guys, I have solved a whole bunch of challenges in my life by just keeping my damn mouth shut. Honestly, because it's like, oh, you know what? I don't always need to have the last word, as my mom used to tell me. She still tells me that sometimes. But I have solved a lot of things by sometimes realizing that this is not the time that I need to reveal all my cards. This is not the time where I need to tell you what I think. We might all benefit in this situation from me not. Now, this will depend on your own situation. How do you normally show up? And honestly, when we're talking about the cosmos, we're talking about the realm of development. So where are you at in your understanding of the situation, maturity-wise, integrity-wise around you? Do you need to say it with your chest out, or you kind of need to hold back? But whatever it is, something that is no longer valuable and serving you is asking you to split from it so that you can move forward. Okay, when we get to Thursday, now we've got that same Venus energy in a sextile to the Chiron energy that we just saw getting squared against. Now this is wonderful because choices we make, value reviews, value re-understandings that we have, seeing ourselves in a different light, seeing ourselves, others with grace and benefit of the doubt actually gives us this space where we have a more open, harmonious perspective on those around us. And in that sextile with Chiron, it's like, I understand. I see an opportunity to not only, have ease, have opportunity, have something come to me, but I'm going to, in a sextile, intelligently take action on it, right? So you're like, I choose to give myself grace. I choose to participate in healing these relationships. And I want to be clear, healing relationships may look very different for you depending on what it is in the situation. Because to have the task for all of us, to be challenged spiritually, to have the best possible relationships we can with every person we come in contact with, that's a really tall glass of order. And sometimes the very best relationship I can have with somebody is to leave them the hell alone, okay? Right? You have to leave them alone, right? But being open to a healing process. Now, the other ways that these can look as well, I'd like to just, I want to put this out here. You've got a different identity with Chiron. So some of your own wounding of your own identity has maybe been through a transformation. You could be showing up as a very different person, so whereas you had an idea of life had to look, how this relationship had to go, how you had to look, how you had to be doing things. With this Venus sextile to Chiron, you give yourself permission to heal and to be exactly what you are, to let a situation be what it is, to show up in a situation with a different reaction than maybe you had before because you're open to trying it out. Maybe not saying something has not worked for you and your reaction is, I'm going to try and say something in a helpful way this time, or vice versa, right? We just become open to participating in different ways that are potentially a lot more healed than they were a year ago, okay? So that's very real. Okay, then we're going to get later into the afternoon and we see Mars come out of retrograde in that energy of Gemini. Welcome back-ish Mars, right? So over this last whole handful of months, really we saw Mars come into the energy of Gemini in August. We saw it slow down for a pre-retrograde shadow slow down. So we started to review things here in September, and then we got to start experiencing this retrograde energy. So now today, as Mars is out of retrograde, first and foremost, stationing days, so the day when a planet goes retrograde or comes direct, are usually harder. There's a lot more misunderstanding. There's complication. It is Mars. You could find yourself in the space of verbal conflict. Absolutely. Stationing days can be a little bit harder. Now, one of the things that I want you to also think about is, what have you been working on? What have you been getting a new strategy, learning a different way to do something? Where have you been changing up your network, right? Maybe some people that you loved or you thought you were going to travel with forever, you found out during the retrograde you actually don't want to travel with them anymore. You need a different group, not because anything's wrong necessarily, but because you need to learn something different. Where have you brought a new strategy into your life? You're learning something different so that it can advance you in the ways that you'd like to. Where did you go back over? You engaged in actively having conversations, rethinking something, rewriting, re-editing, reconnecting with things, maybe things with your siblings. You went back over contracts in your life, all of these very Gemini qualities. And then of course you want to look at this over where it actually lands in your chart. Where is this Gemini energy in your particular chart? If you don't know how to find that yet, I have a video in my description box down below on how to find the active transit in your chart. So go ahead and check that out. And then you can see very specifically what house was this working on for you. One of the questions I have for you too during this last retrograde, during this Mars retrograde is, how are you doing with breathing? How's your breathing life? Right? Stressed out human beings, the first thing we do is we hold our breath. How's your breathing life as you're moving through the day? Do you feel like, okay, I can breathe. I can move. And as I breathe and as I inspire, right? As I inspire, I breathe in, I have a different perspective. I allow my system to be cooled, to be communicated with, to drop from the level of stress because I am breathing life and inspiration into me. I am expiring things that are dying, right? Breathing in more, letting out more, right? How is your breathing life going? I think these are great concepts to be evaluating as you look at what the Mars retrograde has brought into your life and if you're bringing them into actual practice. Now, we will see Mars leave its post-retrograde shadow time March 15th, and then we're going to see it enter into the energy of Cancer as we get to March 25th, and then we'll start to really see things move forward. So the things you've been reviewing and you start to put in place now, when we get into March, I feel March 25th, I feel like they just catch on fire. Like there's just like gasoline, you know, it's like, whoa, there you go. Hopefully you were prepared for that. All right, later in the day, we're going to see that the moon is going to step into another void of course time, so you'll have time to rest and relax. And just after that, the moon will switch into the energy of Leo. So as the moon switches into Libra, as the moon switches its energy into Libra, we're looking for balance. We're looking for peace. We're looking for beauty. We're looking for that mix of what's savory and what's sweet, right? Libra is an air energy, so it's looking for balance. It wants a little bit of this and a little bit of this, right? So you're looking for a great emotional balance in your life. And one of the great questions is, you know, how are you enjoying your thought life? Venus is, Libra. You can tell Mercury is still retrograde. Libra is ruled by Venus, but it is an air sign. So it very much so lives in this heady department up here. So how's your thought life going? How's your thought life going in your material relationships, right? When you're with the person that's in front of you, are you with them or are you all over the place? How's it going when you're in your marriage, your relationship, your business partner? You know, are you thinking one thing about that person but you're saying something different? What's the balance that's coming into your life that you're starting to notice as the moon is traveling here, especially at that emotional level? These are great little things to breathe in, because I will tell you what, listen, I'm married. I've been married. I was friends with my husband like long before I married him, right? And he married me too, right? But we're married, and sometimes he is telling me about this thing in his garden. He's got a Virgo moon, right? And I am very much so thinking about how he could make it better instead of just listening, right? Absolutely guilty of it. Absolutely guilty of it. So, you know, where can you spot that in your own relationships? A moon in Libra is great for restoring the balance and the balance of companionship as well. Okay, when we get to Friday, we see the sun in a sextile to Neptune. I really like this aspect. I have to say this. I really do like this aspect because it's so intuitive. This is an aspect of genuinely strong intuition. So what's coming to you? What's been happening in your dream life? You know, when you ask the universe, or you get up and you're tapping into your guidance system, where do you feel yourself being drawn to that day? Pay attention. Pay attention to the time signs. Pay attention to the symbols. Pay attention to that person who randomly walked in front of you and it seems like it was rude, but as you look up, you see that they've got a message on the back of their shirt, right? Like, pay attention this particular day. What is going on Friday for you? I would love to know. I want to know what symbols show up for you guys, because it's always interesting. On Saturday, we've got Venus. Now, again, we've got more of this square to that Uranus North node, right? This is still in that vibration that we are experiencing there. So you're being tasked with, nope, something is not valuable to you anymore. You got to break out. We've got to break out. And it can be, Venus can present an issue with money and an issue with people, right? It's the relationship and finance planet. So you could be breaking apart from a habit or some way that you are dealing with people and you're finding it particularly challenging. Okay, on Sunday, as we're going to round out the week before we get started for the next week, we've got the moon traveling through the energy of Scorpio. Remember that the moon is considered to be in fall in the energy of Scorpio, and it's because the moon wants to feel. It wants to have the feels, right? But in Scorpio's like, we are going to feel it all. Okay, so the moon goes to hell and back. It gets very, very deep in the energy of Scorpio. So, you know, death, debt, taxes, sex, trauma, healing, therapy, astrology, mysterious things. Is this the day where you and your partner or you and your friends, you're like, let's go out. We're going to go out and have a brunch. We're going to go out and we're going to do this. And you just end up at home watching crime documentaries and you're completely fulfilled. Whatever it is, the great mysteries of the world, including you, you being you, intimacy, these kinds of things can be very, very attractive to you. But it's also a great time as the moon is here to do a little personal check-in with yourself. Are you keeping any secrets, right? Your secrets keep you sick. They block you from the universal divine energy that you could have access to, right? So is there something that you need to talk about with somebody? You need to get it off your chest. You need to share it. It's been weighing you down. Is there something that you've been keeping a secret of? And it's unless it's a surprise party, keeping secrets really turns out to be crappy. So, what is it that you maybe need to talk about with somebody? Also, what are your dreams? What are your desires? What do you really want? Right? What are you really driving towards? And what's your motive for going towards that thing? Right? Because people will say, oh, it wasn't my intention to do whatever. And an intention is really just an unresearched motive. Look for your motive instead of your intention. What were you trying to give or to more specifically get out of whatever it is that you're doing? By questioning what's going on down here, especially while the moon is in this depth of place, will really show you why you're doing what you're doing. And this is a great place to check in. And it's also a great place with that kind of check-in to say, you know what? I keep doing this way because I'm afraid that I'm not going to get this. But if I just surrender, which is a very Scorpio quality as well, and allow myself to come into a partnership, a deep, intimate partnership with this divine power, this divine universe, I might actually get some different results and I won't hate what I'm doing so much, or I'll like it more, right? So these can be conversations for you to explore is what is your motive for doing what you're doing, friend? All right, my beautiful friends, just 2 weeks into January and we're having motive conversation already. So as you can tell, it's going to be a deep year here on Stormy Grace. We're going to ask some real questions and be looking at ourselves while we're also running around out here with the cosmos. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week. Let me know what is unfolding for you. Let me know what mysteries present themselves. What is your intuition calling to you? I continue to look forward to the day, to the moment where I get to make this video and tell you guys my really super big news, because I can't wait to share it with you. And we're almost there. We're almost there. So hang out. I'm going to tell you soon, okay? All right, you guys, I love you so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.